Okay, I'm going to try and go through this systematically, see if we can find what's wrong with this. So we've got DigiGurdy, iPad, we've got the iPad adapter, that's called a lightning connector. Some of the latest iPads use a different connector on this end. This one's about, I don't know, 4 years old, something like that, 4 or 5 years old. You've got the USB lead, which is that on one end, that's on the other. It could be that a defect in the lead, that's a possibility, because I tested your gurdy with just like whatever lead I had hanging around. So that's a possibility. And then you've got the short version, this one, and that's if you're using the battery pack in the end here and you link that round to there. So one way to test if there's if this lead is defective could be to use the short lead like that into the iPad, which would be a bit short and tricky, but that would be one way to test if this lead is at fault. Anyway, BS16i, hang on, does not work actually with every iPad ever made, but I do have a list of all the iPads it will work with. So if you press settings on your iPad, you should be able to find out what, and then I think it's in at about, there you are, it tells you what operating system version you've got and what type of iPad it is. There, so I'll just go back. So there, look, settings, about, there. So I've got operating system 16.3.1 and it's a 6th generation iPad, and I've got a model number and a serial number, and I'll send you a list of all the iPads that it will work with. So that's the first step to check that BS16i should work. So we'll go into that and we'll go to BS16i. Now I see at the moment, by the way, this screen layout can be changed. I'm pressing at the top here, you see. So you want that one with the sliders on it. There. Okay. So the first thing you can see is this icon here is supposed to represent a MIDI socket. So that's everything MIDI is basically that one, and that's settings. So if I connect there, core MIDI inputs, you see there, it's currently saying network session 1. Now when you connect the iPad, that should change. So let's see if that actually happens. Plugs in the gurdy using the long cable to the iPad. So the first thing is the gurdy's powered up, which means it's drawing some power from the iPad. So the first question is, does the screen come on? So it has. And the other thing you'll notice is that's turned green there, which shows that it's connected to the iPad, and the iPad's kind of detected it, and BS16i has detected it. So if I press there now, see, core MIDI inputs, we've got network session 1, but also DigiGur has appeared with a tick next to it. Now I can untick it and I can tick it again, so I've selected that. Core MIDI outputs is also DigiGurdy, but that's appeared there as well, but that doesn't matter, it's the inputs, it's got to detect an input. Now in terms of the sound font, it doesn't matter what sound font, you could have the default one, you could have a piano. So I'm just going to go into settings here and just see, it's wavetables you want. So I've got two libraries showing up. I've got the default one that comes with BS16i, and then I've got the hurdy-gurdy one. So we'll go to there. Core MIDI as well. Core MIDI. Have you got buffering turned on? I would turn that on. You can vary the latency with this slider, but you want buffering turned on. So we'll get rid of that. What else is worth looking at? Yeah, that's all right. So I don't know if you've got those set up like that. Don't think there's anything particularly there needs to be changed. Oh, I've got background virtual MIDI on. Okay, I don't know if that affects anything. So my next question is, when you look at the first 6 channels, what you need to select something. It doesn't matter what it is, really, anything. So for example, we could go to the basic library that comes with the hurdy-gurdy, sorry, with BS16i. Just have like a electric piano selected if you want. There again. Forget about everything else for now. Make sure the volume isn't 0 here as well. That's the master volume, otherwise no sound will come out. So if I select a preset now, set preset, detuning, okay, crank on, something should come out. Okay. So I'm just using the basic library that came with the BS16i. I'm not even using the gurdy version. What that does, let's see what that sounds like. The notes being played will go red here, by the way, you can see. So that's just the automatic cranking button. So I think in terms of troubleshooting, the first step is it even connected? So you should have that appearing when you plug it in. Okay, and if it doesn't, what you could try is, instead of using the long cable, use the short cable, just in case it's a defective cable. So plug that into there and then use that and put your iPad right up close and see if you can get that to show that it's connecting with the digi-gurdy. See if we can get that far at least, and then we'll go from there. There is another thing you can try if you have a laptop or PC. You can download a free program called VMPK. It's like a little MIDI player. So if I plug, hang on, if I plug my gurdy into my laptop and I open this, it's just like a simple piano keyboard. we can test if it's the iPad at fault or the gurdy at fault or the cable. So we've got power, right, up here, edit, MIDI connections, so click on that. Right, you set it up like that, enable MIDI input, MIDI in driver, right, it's Windows MM, input MIDI connection, here, click on that. Right, you see DigiGurdy shown up, so click on that. Right, so if we'll OK those, so if DigiGurdy shows up here under the MIDI connections, it suggests that it is connected and it is talking to the computer. So we'll OK that. Right, so if I turn on my little speaker, right, okay, so let's select a preset, see if any noise comes out. Okay. It does, but it comes out as a piano. Okay, so that allows you to test whether the gurdy is basically putting out any MIDI data. And this program is free, which is why I'm recommending it. So just to go through that again, you open the program, you go to edit, you go to MIDI connections, and you enable MIDI input, MIDI in driver, just the basic Windows one, and then look at the input MIDI connection, look at what options come up, and DigiGurdy should appear there, and select it. And then you should be able to control it. So that's another way of checking that the gurdy's actually putting MIDI data out, and it's something to do with the way BS16i has been set up, or some glitch of the iPad that's the issue. So think about this way of checking it as well.